July 1911. Washington, D.C., President William Howard Taft signs a federal order that will erase fruit from American memory forever. The order does not target a dangerous drug or controlled substance. It does not prohibit a weapon or explosive material. It bans a berry bush that European families have grown in their backyard gardens for over 500 years, a plant that children picked for their mothers, a fruit that grandmothers turned into jam. The official reason given is disease prevention. The berry bush allegedly spreads a fungus that kills valuable white pine trees. The powerful lumber industry claims that allowing ordinary Americans to grow this common plant will devastate commercial forests, worth billions of dollars. The government's solution is devastatingly simple. Make the bush illegal across the entire nation, rip it from every garden where it grows, fine anyone who dares to plant it again. Within a decade, a fruit that American colonists had grown since the 1600s vanishes completely. Most Americans alive today have never tasted it. They have never seen it in a grocery store. They have never noticed it in a nursery. An entire fruit, one of the most nutritious and productive plants ever cultivated, was deleted from the American food system. The bush is called black currant. It grows 3 feet tall. It requires almost no care. It produces fruit within 1 year of planting and continues producing for 20 years or more. A single mature bush yields 10 to 15 pounds of berries annually. 3 bushes outproduce an apple tree that takes 7 years to bear fruit. The ban was lifted in 2003 at the federal level, but the erasure was so complete that nurseries never restocked. Garden centers never reintroduced the plants. Agricultural education never restored the knowledge. A berry that Europeans eat daily remains virtually unknown to 300 million Americans. This is the story of the black currant, the tiny bush that outproduces orchards, and the industry that made sure you would never grow one. If this knowledge matters to you, subscribe and hit the bell. Let's begin. The productivity numbers make fruit trees look embarrassing. An apple tree takes 5 to 7 years to produce its first meaningful harvest. During those years, it requires pruning, spraying, and significant space. A mature apple tree yields approximately 150 to 300 pounds of fruit annually, which sounds impressive until you calculate yield per square foot. A standard apple tree requires 400 to 600 square feet of growing space when you account for root spread and canopy. That means roughly half a pound of fruit per square foot of garden dedicated to the tree. Now consider the black currant. A mature bush occupies approximately 16 square feet. It produces 10 to 15 pounds of fruit. That translates to nearly 1 pound of fruit per square foot, double the productivity of apple trees in 1/7 the time. But the comparison becomes even more dramatic when you factor in establishment period. During the 7 years you wait for apple tree production, a black currant bush produces fruit in years 1 through 7. Conservative estimates suggest 40 to 60 pounds of cumulative harvest before the apple tree yields its first crop. 3 black currant bushes fit in the space of 1 apple tree. Those 3 bushes produce 30 to 45 pounds of fruit annually. They begin production in year 1. By the time an apple tree produces its first harvest, those 3 bushes have yielded over 200 pounds of fruit. The mathematics are not close. Any rational analysis of garden productivity should place berry bushes far above fruit trees for food production. Yet nurseries dedicate enormous space to apple trees and relegate berry bushes to forgotten corners if they stock them at all. The explanation requires understanding what happened in 1911. The federal ban on black currants had nothing to do with protecting forests. The official justification centered on white pine blister rust, a fungal disease that requires currant or gooseberry bushes to complete part of its life cycle. The fungus can infect white pines, causing cankers that eventually kill the trees. White pine lumber was enormously valuable in the early 1900s. The lumber industry controlled vast forests across the northeastern United States. They employed thousands of workers. They generated millions in revenue. They wielded political influence proportional to their economic power. When blister rust appeared in America around 1900, the lumber industry faced a choice. They could implement forestry practices that protected vulnerable trees. They could develop rust-resistant pine varieties. They could accept some losses, as the cost of doing business in an ecosystem containing multiple species, or they could eliminate the competing plant entirely. The industry chose elimination. Lobbyists descended on Washington. They framed the issue as economic catastrophe versus a minor sacrifice. What reasonable person would choose berry bushes over forest industry jobs? The choice was obvious when presented this way. What the lobbyists did not mention was revealing. Black currants had grown alongside white pines in Europe for centuries without destroying European forests. The disease existed in Europe. The bushes existed in Europe. The pines existed in Europe. They coexisted because blister rust rarely kills mature trees and because genetic diversity in European pine populations conferred natural resistance. American white pines were vulnerable, specifically because the lumber industry had created monoculture forests. They had planted genetically identical trees across vast areas. They had eliminated natural diversity in favor of uniform timber production. They had created the conditions for disease devastation and then blamed a berry bush for the consequences of their own practices. The ban protected lumber industry profits. It did not protect forests. The nutritional profile of black currants explains why Europeans refused to abandon them despite disease pressure. Vitamin C content exceeds any commonly available fruit by extraordinary margins. A single serving of black currants delivers over 300% of daily vitamin C requirements. Oranges, the fruit most associated with vitamin C, contain roughly 1/4 of the concentration found in black currants. The berry that America banned contains 4 times more immune-supporting vitamin than the fruit America imports by the shipload. But vitamin C is only the beginning of the nutritional story. Black currants contain anthocyanins at concentrations that make blueberries look pale. These purple pigments function as powerful antioxidants with documented effects on inflammation, cardiovascular health, and cognitive function. Research published in peer-reviewed nutrition journals has linked anthocyanin consumption to reduced risk of chronic diseases. The berries contain gamma-linolenic acid, an omega-6 fatty acid rarely found in plant foods. GLA serves as a precursor to anti-inflammatory compounds in the human body. Supplemental GLA is sold in health food stores for $15 to $30 per bottle. Black currants provide it, free in every harvest. Potassium content rivals bananas. Iron content exceeds most fruits. Fiber content supports digestive health. The nutritional density per calorie positions black currants among the most valuable foods a garden can produce. European health authorities have recognized these remarkable benefits for decades. In the United Kingdom, black currant juice is a standard childhood beverage that parents give without hesitation. Ribena, a concentrated blackcurrant drink, has been distributed to British children since World War II as an essential vitamin C source when citrus imports were impossible. The British government deemed it important enough to prioritize during wartime rationing. The fruit that America banned is the same fruit that Britain gives to children as medicine and nutrition combined. The contrast between nations could not possibly be starker. American children drink sodas with zero nutritional value, while their British counterparts drink concentrated nutrition from a banned berry. The prohibition did not just eliminate a fruit, it eliminated a public health intervention that other nations consider routine. The nursery industry perpetuates the erasure through economic incentives. Fruit trees generate more revenue than berry bushes. A grafted apple tree sells for $25 to $50 at retail nurseries. A black currant bush sells for $8 to $15. The profit margin on tree sales exceeds bush sales by significant percentages. Every square foot of nursery space dedicated to berry bushes is space not generating tree-level profits. Fruit trees require more customer spending over time. They need pruning tools, spraying equipment, fertilizers formulated for trees, and often professional arborist services. They create repeat customers who return year after year for supplies. A properly established berry bush needs almost nothing after planting. The nursery industry prefers products that generate ongoing revenue streams. Trees accomplish this, bushes do not. The financial incentives align against promoting the more productive option. Additionally, fruit trees take years to produce. During those years, customers return to nurseries hoping this will be the season their tree finally bears fruit. They buy more products. They seek more advice. They remain engaged with the nursery ecosystem. Berry bushes produce in year one and require minimal ongoing support. They do not bring customers back repeatedly. They do not generate accessory sales. They do not create the dependency relationship that nurseries cultivate with fruit tree customers. The hiding is not conspiracy. It is capitalism. Nurseries stock what sells profitably. They promote what generates repeat business. They dedicate space to high-margin products. Berry bushes fail all 3 tests, despite being superior food production systems. The consumer never learns what they are missing because the consumer only sees what nurseries choose to display. The federal ban created state-level confusion that persists today. When Washington lifted the federal prohibition in 2003, individual states retained authority to maintain their own restrictions. Some states eliminated their bans entirely. Others maintained prohibitions in specific counties. Still others created permit systems that discourage casual cultivation. The legal patchwork makes nursery distribution complicated. A nursery operating across multiple states must track which plants can ship where. Black currants cannot ship to Massachusetts without permits. They face restrictions in Maine, New Hampshire, and other states. The compliance burden discourages nurseries from stocking plants that create legal complexity. Customers who want black currants often cannot find them locally. They must order from specialty mail-order nurseries. They must verify that their state permits cultivation. They must navigate confusion that does not exist for any other common fruit. This friction reduces adoption even among interested gardeners. Every obstacle between desire and purchase reduces conversion rates. The obstacles facing black currant adoption are numerous and unnecessary. They persist because no industry benefits from removing them. Compare this to apple trees. No restrictions anywhere. Universal availability. Complete legal clarity. The fruit tree that produces less food per square foot faces zero barriers, while the bush that produces more faces barriers at every stage. The playing field was deliberately tilted and has never been leveled. Growing black currants requires minimal expertise and almost no ongoing effort. Site selection favors partial shade over full sun. Unlike most fruit plants, black currants actually prefer some shade during the hottest part of the day. They evolved in northern European climates where intense sun is rare. A location receiving morning sun and afternoon shade suits them perfectly. This makes them ideal for spaces where fruit trees and vegetable gardens cannot thrive. Soil requirements are forgiving. Black currants tolerate clay soils that would stress most fruit plants. They accept slightly acidic to neutral pH without amendment. They appreciate organic matter, but do not demand it. Reasonable garden soil grows productive bushes. Planting is straightforward. Dig a hole twice the width of the root ball. Set the plant slightly deeper than it grew in the nursery. Backfill and water thoroughly. Apply mulch to retain moisture and suppress weeds. The entire process takes 15 minutes. First-year care focuses on establishment. Water during dry periods. Remove any fruit that forms in year 1 to direct energy toward root development. Prune lightly to encourage branching. These minimal interventions set up decades of production. Subsequent years require almost nothing. Black currants fruit on wood that is 1 to 3 years old. Annual pruning removes branches older than 3 years and maintains productive growth. The pruning takes perhaps 15 minutes per bush once annually. No spraying is typically necessary as black currants resist most pests and diseases. Harvest occurs in midsummer. The berries ripen to deep purple-black over approximately 2 weeks. They can be picked as clusters or stripped individually. A mature bush yields its full harvest in under an hour. The berries store refrigerated for 2 weeks or frozen indefinitely. The total labor investment across an entire year measures in minutes per pound of fruit produced. No fruit tree approaches this efficiency. No vegetable garden matches this ease. The plant that nurseries hide is the plant that makes food production accessible to anyone with a small patch of dirt. The uses for black currants extend far beyond fresh eating. Traditional European preparations include jams, jellies, and preserves that capture summer nutrition for winter consumption. The high pectin content means black currants gel easily without commercial pectin additions. Simple recipes combining fruit and sugar produce preserves that last a year or more. A single harvest provides enough preserved fruit for 12 months of daily consumption. Juice and cordials concentrate nutrition into drinkable forms. British Ribena, French Cassis, and similar products demonstrate commercial viability. Home versions require only crushing berries, straining juice, and adding sugar to taste. The resulting cordial dilutes with water for a beverage containing more vitamin C than any commercial juice product. Baking applications include pies, tarts, crumbles, and muffins. The intense flavor means small quantities deliver significant impact. Recipes developed for blueberries work with black currants, though quantities should be reduced given the stronger taste. European baking traditions offer centuries of tested recipes. Alcoholic preparations include wine, liqueur, and flavored spirits. Crème de cassis, the French black currant liqueur, anchors the Kir and Kir Royale cocktails. Home production is straightforward for those inclined toward fermentation. The resulting products command premium prices when sold commercially. Medicinal applications have historical and emerging scientific support. Traditional European herbalism used black currant leaves for tea and black currant seed oil for various complaints. Modern research has validated anti-inflammatory properties, cardiovascular benefits, and immune support. The line between food and medicine blurs with black currants. A single bush supplies culinary applications, beverage production, preservation projects, and medicinal preparations from one annual harvest. No fruit tree matches this versatility. The hiding of black currants denied Americans access to one of the most useful plants ever domesticated. The bush does not know it was banned. It does not know that lumber industry lobbyists testified against it in Washington. It does not know that federal agents supervised its removal from American gardens. It does not know that nurseries refused to stock it for reasons having nothing to do with customer benefit. The bush knows only what bushes have always known. Send roots into soil, grow leaves toward light, flower in spring, fruit in summer, drop leaves in autumn, sleep through winter, repeat until something stops you. For 90 years, the American government stopped it. For 2 decades, since the federal ban lifted, economic incentives have continued stopping it. The conspiracy became unnecessary once the erasure was complete. Markets do not correct toward products that consumers do not know exist. You now know this bush exists. You know it produces 3 times more food per square foot than fruit trees. You know it begins yielding in year 1, while trees require 7. You know its nutritional profile exceeds oranges, blueberries, and most commercial fruits combined. You know the lumber industry banned it to protect profits from their own mismanagement. You know nurseries hide it because trees generate better margins. You know the legal confusion was manufactured by interests that benefited from your ignorance. The black currant bush asks nothing from you except a small patch of ground. 16 square feet, partial shade acceptable, minimal water, 15 minutes of pruning annually. In return, it offers 10 to 15 pounds of the most nutritious fruit available every year for 20 years or more. The ban lasted 90 years. The erasure has lasted 20 more. Your decision determines whether it continues. 3 bushes fit where 1 apple tree stands. Those 3 bushes will outproduce that tree by hundreds of pounds over the next decade. They will start producing this year. They will ask almost nothing and give almost everything. The tiny bush that produced 3 times more food than fruit trees is waiting patiently for someone to finally plant it again. Now you know exactly why nurseries deliberately hide it from customers. Now you know what was deliberately taken from American gardens and families for nearly a century. Now the choice about what grows in your own garden is finally yours to make. If this opens something important for you, subscribe and hit the bell. Every like and share spreads what they try to erase. See you in the next one.